Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man, Frank SCALISH, live and in person at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time on a Thursday morning. We call this regularly scheduled programming, Frank.
It is. It is regularly scheduled programming, and it is a frigid morning here.
It is here too.
It was like 27 degrees this morning.
I got to tell you, man, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the not light until 7:30. I'm feeling the getting dark at 7. And then I thought I was doing a show yesterday with Brett Height, and I thought that we weren't doing daylight savings time, but I guess that doesn't kick in until next year. We are doing daylight savings time, so it's about to get even worse, I think.
Yeah, I'm not built for this crap.
Yeah, without getting into too, I get the seasonal stuff, man. I get the just kind of funk this time of the year. It's kind of, you run through, like, we've just had a ton of rain. It's dark, it's cold. You don't want to go out and fish in it. Everything's kind of blown out right now. Massive transitional period. Boat's been in the garage for a couple weeks.
At least you have a garage for years.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's a lot of guys that deal with that during the off season.
Well, yeah, there is, obviously. I mean, we have to, especially up north. Like yesterday, not this morning, yesterday morning, I had 3.5 inches of snow on my boat cover. I had to go brush it all off because it sags the cover. And then if it gets warm and melts, I get puddles in the cover. So I had to go brush it off. And that's like an everyday thing from now until spring, is every time it snows, I go out and the first thing I do is take the snow off the cover.
Wake up and do it. So what are two things that you can do to kind of get out of that little funk? One is win a contest, and two is drive where it's warm and catch giants.
Which you did both of. Well, you didn't win the contest.
No, we've got both. So I do want to mention, so I have not mentioned this all week, but the last time we were on day 4, we got a great show today. What you're going to talk about is your buddy calls, or you're jumping in the boat. Your son, in this case, calls and says, hey, let's go fishing. And you're looking at a legend full of tackle and a basement full of tackle. And you're going, well, how do I know what I need when I need it to bring it so I can co-angler, team fish, go on this thing without bringing too much and without leaving something that I need at home? Very, very good topic today.
Yeah, and we'll get I have explanations for everything, rod choices, everything. This is going to be really fun. And later in the show, we've got Todd from Hydromotive to come and talk high performance, rough water, and props.
Nice. Do we have any new prop news? Because we had like a little period there where you guys did that 5-blader.
Yes, we have some news. We definitely have some news, and it'll be exciting to the guys looking for a new wheel. So
nice. So last time we talked, we actually did BTL on a Wednesday, which was last BTL day 4 on a Wednesday, because I was headed to a mystery lake somewhere in Texas.
Lake X.
Well, now Jeffries has lake. I guess it could be Lake X in Texas.
Look, okay, Lake Y. We're gonna call this Lake Y.
Brandon Burks, who is a guide down there. That's what he does for a living.
Yeah, that cat's catching them too, dude.
Yeah, and there's a number of guys down in Texas that are on this. I call it the Texas Gold Rush. And there's kind of a band across Texas where there's all these lakes that you wouldn't suspect OHIV like, right?
Right.
That with a mix of technology and talented anglers and baits, they've kind of put this piece of the puzzle together, and they're freak showing it. Like, he's averaging 2 double digits a day. I mean, there's other guys that are down there that I see Brett Cannon catching them. We've seen videos with Millick. There's a number of big bass kind of specialists, and it's a pretty penny. It's not. I mean, this is not your $300 a day for 6 hours guide trip. Like, you're talking approaching, in some cases, depending on who it is,
right,
and how big their ego is, it's well into the 4 figures. I messed up how I said one was 7 zeros last week. It's one with 6 zeros is $1 million, but it's 4 figures would be like over 1,000 for the day.
Right.
So you have to go in. So anyway, Brandon called. He's like, hey, I had a day off. He's been a listener of BTL. I had him on the show when he caught a world record mean mouth out of OH Ivy. It didn't count because of an umbrella rig. So I woke up at 2 a.m. and drove. I ended up driving.
They didn't count it because it was on an A rig?
Yeah, long story.
All right, I don't want
And he's like, you got to jump in and see what this is all about. It's really cool. It's kind of what I expected. It's very similar to what we're doing with the crappie. We're talking smallish lakes, not what you would roll up and be like, you know, you don't roll up and it doesn't look like Lake Fork or Toledo Bend when you roll up, right?
It's a little more manageable.
Yeah. And it is work, but dude, I kind of got screwed out of the deal because and he goes, it's going to be epic today. And there's just a nice little ripple on the water, right? We roll up. He's got a 2022, I think, or 21-22 nitro. He had all the rods and stuff rigged, and I had, you know, 2 of my Denali's, and I said, all right. And he pulls a bait out. I won't disclose that bait right now. It's pretty common bait.
Yeah,
he goes, tie this on. I'm like, cool. It's the only thing we threw all day in one color, one bait. He said it works. I mean, you look at his Instagram, Brandon Burks Fishing Instagram, you could tell it works. And like 5 minutes in, and it's no secret, they're forward facing sonar electronics. It's 100% forward facing sonar. And he's got a kind of a different unit than what I do. He runs a Lowrance actually, which is impressive. I would recommend if you're in that and you want to learn forward facing sonar on a Lowrance, he's a wizard with it. And he goes to the back, and I'm looking at the screen. I'm still trying to decipher because I run a Garmin, right? And I'm like,
right. So your view is a little bigger.
Yeah, I'm like, that looks like a tank. Like that looks like what he said a big one should look like. It's like a ball. You can see a couple little different key details on it. And I say, hey man, I said, I don't want to be that guy right off the morning. I said, but that looks like a giant. And he goes, oh yeah, that's a giant. I cast the bait out there, bring it over the fish. And all of a sudden, here it comes. Whoa, 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 swimming behind this thing. Dude, heart rate skyrockets.
Well, yeah, because every time you get a bite, you're thinking double digit.
Yeah. I mean, and we've been there 15 minutes. Perfect conditions. Skyrockets. I mean, I could feel I'm vibrating and I'm reeling this thing in and I feel it ticket, but it doesn't get it. And he's like, oh, dude, yeah, that's the right one. And I get it all the way to the boat and it just kind of just shamoos underneath and doesn't eat it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So like 20 minutes late, I mean, dude, I'm like shaking and he's like, oh dude. Ah. So like 20 minutes late and there's like 6 or 7 boats out there and everyone's just doing their own thing. And like 20 minutes later, we find another one. Same thing. Doesn't commit. And I realized like you are in this thing, you are trophy hunting. The closest thing, and I'm not a hunter, but what I would imagine it would be like trophy sheep hunting, like up in the mountains, right? Like you're there for a week.
Shot.
You're there for a week and you might get a shot at one.
Right.
But even if you don't get one, the fact that you were there and had a chance to be in the location of one, like this is not a deal if you want to like take your 12-year-old kid and smash them. This is a deal if you want a once in a lifetime shot at a PB, and it does take skill. I mean, the more familiar you are with the electronics and what you're reading, the better you can take instruction, the better you can cast, the more it's well worth a freaking trip if you're wanting a DD.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's what I was going to say. If you want to catch the fish of a lifetime, it's worth the trip.
Right. But there's hours of nothing. So like I've heard guys and I've seen guys and I 100% get it. They're like, man, you know, we paid all this money for the trip and the dude stood there with his hood up staring at a screen.
Yeah,
that's how these things are getting caught.
Yeah.
And it's so like there was a part where and I'll tell you what happened later in the day because the wind got up, unfortunately. But anyway, about an hour in, we're looking around and there's one. Crank, and it just goes slack and donk. And
oh my God,
I plow it. And it comes up, and I mean, it's the biggest fish I've caught in a year. It was a 7-pounder, but when it came up, thankfully, He goes, giant? Because he grabbed the net. And I said, no, but a good one. And, he's high-fiving and all this stuff. And we get it in. Here, I'll show just a little. There it is right there on the left right there. I mean, it's a pretty dang good fish.
That's a good bass, dude.
That's a big bass. That's a 7-pounder. We release it, and he's, I said, be honest. I said, he goes, yeah, it's a little on the small end. He goes, that's a good one. He goes, we'll get more. But then all of a sudden, so I've got a 7 in the boat. I've had a 10. He had one follow. We've gotten to the point where we're casting to the fish. And then the wind switches and starts blowing 25 miles an hour, and it's white capping out there. He's got a 112 Ultrex. He can't even hold in one spot to get up to it. I mean, Randy Blockett would be really disappointed because it wasn't fishing. It's hunting. You're hunting for these.
Well, but but dude, it's a different game. It's just a different game.
Yep.
And if you think about it, you're doing one thing and one thing only, and that's hunting for the trophy.
Yeah.
The thing that I like about it is they let them all go. That's what I like about it, because when you go hunting, when you shoot your trophy, you can't let it go again. You know what I mean? But with fishing, you can let it go and you can catch it again later, or someone else has an opportunity.
Yeah. So, long story short, we 6 hours we went out there, we didn't get a bite. And at like 4, he's like, man, I'm going to sit in the truck. We're going to let the wind lay down. I had a hundreds and hundreds of mile drive home. I did it all in one day. It was a 23-hour day for me. I said, dude, I think I'm going to hit the road, because I looked at the weather. Sends me a picture of a 9.5 that he caught at 6:30 after the wind laid down.
Yeah.
And then I think either yesterday or 2 days ago, he jacked a 12.5.
Oh, dang, dude.
Out of this lake. And I think he went and got it certified. So even though there's been bigger fish caught, he went ahead and got it certified. So Burke's Fishing on Instagram.
Well, pull it up. Pull it up if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, there it is right there. And also on Facebook. But big shout out to Brandon. I hope I get the opportunity to jump in the boat again during his off day. I would drive down there in a heartbeat. And if you're looking for something to do this winter, like I said, I'm going to say it. This is not a family friendly trip. No. This is not a go catch.
It's not a trip you bring your child to.
This is not even go catch 5 trip.
But you're not looking to do that when you go on a trip like that.
This is expect to be a little confused at the start, standing there for hours, and then massive dopamine and adrenaline rushes in small amounts of time, knowing that your bait is within a foot of the biggest bass you've ever seen in your life, and you will have multiple opportunities for that over the course of the day. So
it's kind of a cool thing, I like the fact that these guys are being responsible with it, because I've seen firsthand forward-facing sonar in action, and my 2D fishing is never going to go away, because that's how I made my living. But there's definitely something really fun about the forward-facing game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using a Lowrance Gen 1, which is comparatively to the new Garmin, there's really not a comparison. But I wanted to get really good on it, and I started just chasing crappies the beginning of the year, just so I could learn pointing the transducer without thinking about it, scanning without thinking about it. So basically what it becomes like, it's turning your turn signal on in your car or your truck. When you're driving down the road and you got to make a right turn signal, you don't stop and think, ooh, I got to put my turn signal on. It's automatic. It's just automatic. And that's how you have to be with the forward game. Everything has to be automatic. So when you make your cast, you automatically know exactly where it's got to be. So you can get view of your bait, stay on the fish. Like when you and I went, Matt, the hardest thing in the beginning was when the wind's blowing hard to keep the fish on your screen.
That's what we ran into when it was blowing so hard.
And you blow around the fish to get behind it, but to keep that fish on the screen. And that was the hardest thing for me to figure out, and took the longest, actually.
We're not getting into this. According to Clay, it's just like spotlighting big bucks. So whatever, Clay. You can get on it. I enjoy doing it.
You know what?
Bring the hate.
It's not like spot-locking big bucks.
Spotlighting
big bucks. It's not like that at all.
Yeah, whatever. We're not getting into this.
Yeah, we
fired up on a Thursday. We have contest winners to get to.
And
we had a lot of really good submissions.
Yeah, we did. And some of you guys are great, man. I just got to tell you, some of them are great. So here's what I did. We're going to have a complete set of DD22s and Norman Fat Boys in the new colors for first place, a complete set of both, and a complete set of both for second place. So when we announce the winners, email Matt your address. So
how many is a complete set? That's like a bunch of colors.
Yeah, it is. It's I think it's either a dozen or a baker's dozen. It's either 13 or 12.
And I mean, it'll have like the new color, like Envy and stuff.
Oh yeah, Envy's in there, True Gizzard's in there, Harvest Moon,
Holy Shad's in there. Yeah, they're all in there. And then if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't gonna talk about LureNet today, but I think there's a 40. I'm just pulling them up.
No, that's cool. I think there's a 40% off on all head and spooks. So jump on that, because it's 40% off if you got to get your topwater line up to snuff. You're not going to find them cheaper now. But yeah, so
you get DD22s and
Fat Boys.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're talking about a dozen or 13 baits.
All right, we're going to start it with second place. And Frank, I'll just put it all on you. Frank has reviewed all of the submissions and has selected his top two. Send hate mail to
right. Send hate mail to Frank
it's second
_fishing.
We had a lot of great submissions. The first one is a very artistic take.
This is second place, correct?
But first and second get the same thing.
Correct.
It's like the tournament where you finish 18th, it pays the same as 40th, and you're like, what the hell? Like you ever do that where you caught like a 4-pounder in the last minute and you are just jacked up, and then you get in and you get your check and you realize that you had 40th wrapped up at 9 a.m. and all the stressing and moves and $100 worth of gas you burned in the last 7 hours got you absolutely zero more money.
So theoretically, first and second place in this contest is a first place. You tracking?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, drum roll. Make sure I put the right one up.
Bingo. That's, I believe, Brady
with the etching pumpkin,
which is very artistic and unique. And you are going to get a double set of custom or new colors for DDs and Fat Boys.
There you go.
I hope you're watching, Brady.
Yeah, I have everyone's contact info, so I'll send all that over. I'll send them an email, and then I'll send you the.
Yeah.
And then for the winner of the day 4 pumpkin carving contest, Wesley,
loaded to the cork
with a jumping bass. Really used a lot of the pumpkin well on that, and played on what he knew would be a BTL favorite.
That's right. We had to do it. He had to get the first nod. Now I have to be honest. There were a lot of really, really, really good entries, and this was very difficult. I love the participation from you guys. This was a lot of fun. You put a lot of work into it, and it was really a tough decision. Honestly, it really came down to a couple of tiny little factors, and it was a tough competition. But I appreciate the time and energy everybody put into this. We had some guys that actually painted stuff on pumpkins. I mean, it was pretty cool. Minnesota Josh put a lot of time into a detailed carving.
Texas Mike,
in Texas
Corbin,
Mike, right? And
Jim,
so
Steve, all the guys,
all those guys. So it was really it was tough, man. And so no hard feelings. We'll have a million more contests. So you guys will all have a chance to win something again.
I'm just waiting for Clay to jump on and say they're the 2 worst carved pumpkins he's ever seen in his life.
You were gonna let it go. You gotta let it go, man.
All right, Frank.
Look at Matthew throwing madness in the can.
I tell you, it's one of those mornings. It's cold out. It's nasty. You got to drive down to Texas. I'm gonna go shoot an episode of Trade and Chris's.
Nice.
Chris and Traits podcast, The Bilge, after this. But all right. We are 20 minutes into the show. Let's do something different and actually get into the main topic before the last 10 minutes.
Right. And then don't forget, to end of the show, we're pulling.
Yeah, we got Todd. I see him. He already jumped on. He's going to be hanging out for a while. So
perfect. So, okay. So as anybody, and my son will absolutely attest to this, and any of my buddies that own a bass boat will, he's calm now, Clay. He's calm, dude. And any of my buddies that own a bass boat will attest to this. I'm the worst. I'm not the worst non-boater in the world. I'm the worst guy prepping to be a non-boater in the world. I have my boat set up to where I have everything I need for any condition change. And it's really a hard process for me to gear down to be in someone else's boat, because I always think that I forget something. And then in some instances I do, and then I get irritated because if the person I'm with doesn't have it, then I'm like, we're missing something here that we could be really catching fish on. So Frankie called me, and he lives I am a pain, dude. I know it. He lives far from me now, where we used to live really close. So he was always here, and it was a lot of fun for me because he's one of my best friends in the world. So it was a lot of fun for me. And so anyhow, we always have the thing where he's like, hey, dude, let's go fishing. Let's take my boat. And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, oh, I got, 360 and forward facing and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, you know what? And so it's painful. So we decided that because he moved and he lives by lakes that I've never been on before, and neither has he, for that matter. So we chose a lake based on wanting to go there. Wait, what's that?
I'm just throwing comments up.
I know, but I can't.
This is just second hand, just for the
gotcha.
Viewers on YouTube. I throw up the good comments. I'm really not that upset at you, Clay.
No, it's all in
mildly annoyed.
No, but you got to have that, because that keeps the show entertaining.
But I was kind of like 80 grit sandpaper coming into today's show, as we already explained. So
we already established.
All right, back to the fact that you can't. I'm laughing internally too, because when you came in crappie fish and I said you don't need anything, you could not get through your head that you did not need anything.
Oh, it's 100% true.
You still brought all this hand-tied stuff and everything. And I'm like, no, I got the rod. Well, can I bring a spin? I said, you can bring a spinning rod. You won't catch anything on it, but you're welcome to. What about that? You can bring those baits. You won't catch anything on it. You're welcome to. Right.
Exactly. So back to the long end of this whole thing. Okay. Yeah. Brazil's on. Good man. So back to the long end of this thing. So we decided we're going to pick a lake that not been to before. Frankie went and scoped it out, found a few things that I like. And so based on the time of year, okay, is how I based my tackle selection. And since now I'm guessing that the pattern is going to be the right pattern when I get there, but here's what I did, okay? I decided 5 rod max. I'm not bringing any more than 5. And tackle wise, I got all my tackle in those little 3600 boxes. I have 3 of them.
Oh, really? Get it all down to 3.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing, because I kind of know what the water temp is. I kind of know what we're dealing with, because Frankie went out and scoped it out. And so I'm using not my past knowledge of the animal to help gear me down. So the rod choices are the first critical component. What the hell are you
You got to read that comment.
Not a chance I could. Or at the same time, I'm unknowingly horrible at being.
I told you to ignore him, but I had to bring that one in.
You can't do this to me, dude. I lose focus. So anyway, oh man.
That's what we call a pickle.
Yeah. So the rocking a hard place. So the rod choices are, I'm trying to
done. I won't
this.
put any more comments up there unless you guys have a really good one, and then we'll just throw them off course.
Now you're going to get 50,000 comments. So the rod choices are really critical. So here, you all know that I'm a Powell guy. Okay. I fish with Powell rods. So what when I talk about the rod, I'm going to talk about the length and the action of the rod. I'll give you the Powell numbers, and if I say 725, that's a 7'2" 5 power. Okay, so you can use whatever rod brands you're using and have a comparable. You got a comparable. So okay, so my first thing is we lost about 15 to 20 degrees in water temperature in the last week. So obviously I'm going to have my jerkbait rod, which is going to be my 725 endurance. This rod can double. I can throw a jerkbait on it. I can throw a crankbait on it. So I got two purposes for that rod.
So 7'2" medium action.
Right. Medium heavy. It's as long as it's got an extra fast tip to take up, to fight the fish with, you're good. So that's my first rod choice. My second rod choice, an A-rig's going to start to play, but you also know a swim jig's going to start to play. So I took an Endurance 764, which is a 7.5 foot. It's kind of a medium heavy-ish or medium. It'll throw the swim jig really nice, and it'll throw an A-rig, another double duty rod. Okay, so I'm taking care of two things at one time. So then I got another 764 with me, which is going to be spinnerbait, buzzbait, chatterbait. So now that rod will have 3 duties for me. And then, of course, I've got my 806 Endurance, which is pure flipping and pitching. And I'm going to throw a jig on that or some form of Texas rig on it. So another double duty rod. And the last rod I'm going to carry with me is a 744 spinning rod. You can use the 744 Endurance or a 764 Naked Series. They're equivalent. And so the spinning rod is going to get, a Ned head, a flick shake, a sparky head, a drop shot. So the spinning rod's got a ton of different duties for me, depending on what we discover when we're down there. So now, instead of me bringing my 3 jerkbait boxes, because I do have 3 jerkbait boxes, I narrowed it down to 10 jerkbaits. So I've got 4 shallow jerkbaits that go 2 to 4. I've got 2 mid-range jerkbaits that go 4 to 6, 4 to 8. And then I've got 4 deep jerk baits that'll get me down past 11 feet. And then all I did with my colors is I basically took my go-to colors with me. Oddball colors work certain times, but generally speaking, you have colors that you catch them on all the time. So I brought those colors with me because they're my confidence colors. Jigs was real easy. I'm only bringing 6 jigs with me. I'm bringing 3 5/16 and 3 7/16. And the reason I'm bringing the 7/16 is if I got a structure fish or if I have to fish deeper or if it blows like a hurricane. And then I've got 3 spinner baits I'm bringing with me, 1 buzz bait. I'm bringing 3 little bags of trailers for the jig trailers. I'm actually bringing two different color spine craws and 1 bag of speed craws. And then I can double those up for flipping and pitching if I have to. So you see what I'm doing here. I'm making sure that
multitasking.
Right, everything I'm bringing has multiple functions. I'm bringing 6 swim jigs with me and 3 of one color, 3 of another color, and my swim jig trailers. Now my swim jig trailers are going to be I'm bringing a couple bags of the small pulse minnow, a couple bags of the big pulse minnow. I'm bringing 1 card of Kitex, and I'm bringing 1 card of 6 Cents, the Divine swim bait with me. Those will double as my A rig. They'll double as my swim jig trailers. So you see that everything I'm using has multiple functions, because this way I don't have to go, oh, I need this for that, and I need this for that. And then next thing you know, you're bringing 500 pounds of tackle, and most of which you're never going to look at.
Right.
So everything I'm bringing, and it's all my confidence colors. It's everything I normally catch them on in this particular seasonal pattern. The only thing I'm not bringing with me is my crankbaits. Because if we get on a crankbait bite, Frankie's got tons of fat boys. He's got tons of deep little ends, et cetera, et cetera. All I need at that point is the rod. Now, if I was fishing with another dude as a non-boater, I would have to pick out crankbaits in which I would bring a dozen.
Couple shallow, couple medium, couple deep.
Right.
3 and 3 square bills.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bingo. And that's kind of, that's kind of how it is. I'm actually excited about it because if it goes off the way I think it's going to go off, it's probably going to be a 2-rod day, which I enjoy a lot. And so I just wanted to give you guys some insight on the best way to multitask your equipment so you don't have to bring as much. Remember, as a non-boater, you don't need a separate rod for this and that and this and that, because it only takes a minute to tie on another lure. And so don't stress out you bringing 10 rods as a non-boater, because what usually happens,
you fish less.
Well, you fish less, but in my experience, you're spending more time untangling everything and putting everything away to make a run than you are
guys in the opens where I've rolled up, fished a spot while he's dog cussing his rods the whole time. Still not untangled, and we're on to the next spot.
Dude,
the entire time he's been down there just monkeying with, and I'm like, dude, you need 4 rods, 5 rods max to fish.
Right. Well, see, when I fished as a pro, I told my non-boaters exactly what to bring.
Yep.
And I said, if you want to bring something else to experiment with, by all means, bring it, but don't overload, because you're not going to have to. I fished in Florida one time, and I had a non-boater, and I said, dude, everything we do is we're gonna run in these spots. We're gonna hit them quick, and we're gonna leave. And the first spot we're going to, I have to run over a monster mud flat to get back to it, and I cannot shut the boat down once we get up on plane. So you need to make sure that everything is buttoned up when we leave. When I say we're leaving, make sure it's buttoned up, because once I spin the boat around to get up on plane and I'm on plane, there's no shutting down. So we get back there and it's a foggy morning. I mean, like really foggy, and you can't see anything. And I run back to this. Basically, it was a big hole in the middle of a flat, but the flat was almost, you can almost not get over it. You had to be on plane. And we shut down in there, and it's foggy. You can't see the bank. You can't see nothing. And we're fairly close to the bank, maybe 30, 40 yards offshore, but you can't see anything. I shut the boat down in there, and the next thing I know, I hear boom, 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 and the pellets are going bouncing off the side of the boat in the water. I get down on the bottom of the boat and I yell to the duck hunters. I go, dude, we're fishing over here. And it goes dead quiet. And then you hear the guy go, yeah, but we're hunting over here. And so I told him, I said, all right, we're leaving. I said, I'm leaving. Don't shoot until you don't hear my boat anymore. So I tell my non-boater, pack your stuff up. And literally we were there for 10 minutes, not even. So what as a non-boater could you have out on the back deck of a boat in 10 minutes? You know what I mean? Grab your top water, grab your speed
strap
worm
it down and let's roll.
Yeah, right. So I do my donut to get up and out. And all of a sudden I feel tug on my arm, and I turn around. I go, what, dude? He goes, all my tackle blew out back there. I go, what? I turn around, dude, and I see boxes floating on the flat. I'm like, oh my God. So I have to shut the boat down, and we're stuck thick as thieves in the mud. And so I'm using with the trolling motor up, holding it up, trying to get all the tackle out. We retrieved about 98% of his tackle, killed 45 minutes doing it, trying to do it.
Wow.
Oh, dude, I was coming unscrewed. I felt bad because I didn't know he had laid a bunch of stuff out. You know what I mean? Yeah, Clay, you on the money, bud. You're on the money with that one. But yeah, so being prepared is very good, and the less fumbling around you have to do as a co-angler, the more efficient you're going to be. Some of the best co-anglers that I fished with literally fished with 2 rods most of the day, and they caught the crap out of them.
Yeah, in the open. So I've had hundreds of by 100 co-anglers now.
Yeah,
and the ones that I am I don't want to say nervous about, but the ones where I'm like, all right, this guy's going to keep me on my game today, are the ones who come with 3 rods and a Walmart sack. And the only thing they're like is, hey, can I put this gas station sandwich in your cooler so my egg salad doesn't spoil?
Well, first of all, I got to give him credit for eating that crap, because you're
like, okay, this guy knows what he's going to throw.
Oh yeah. 100%.
But a couple things that have stuck out to me that you said about doubling up and maximizing is the best guys that I've fished in front of, or that have been behind me, for 2 or 3 minutes when we get to a spot, if we're changing stuff, they won't be fishing. I'll look back and they will have 2 or 3 additional reels that are spooled up with braid or a heavier. So when you talk about having a flipping stick or something like that, you're flipping on it with 20-pound fluoro. And then let's say in the rare event that I go up to a mat or I'm frog fishing, or I want to throw a buzzbait or something, they just snip it off, crank that reel down, tighten the tag end, go into their bag, pull their braid reel out, thread it up, tie a frog on, and 2 minutes later, they're frogging.
Right. And what I do is I buy spare spools for all my reels. And so I have spare bait casting spools. And so I'll just have a little Tupperware thing with 3 or 4 spools in it.
Oh, so you don't even have to undo it. So you just pop the side plate off, pop your spool out, pop the new spool in.
Yep.
That's the one thing. The other thing that I do a lot, and I fish one of the weekday jackpots with Austin Cranford. We use his boat 95% of the time. You know what you're going to be throwing. I take 3 packs of one bait and I put them all in one pack.
Oh yeah.
That way, instead of having, and you do this too, instead of having 30 packs in a gallon Ziploc, I've got 5.
Right. Exactly.
And it's so easy.
And let me tell you something. If you go through 3 packs of soft plastic, you're having a good day.
Yeah. Well, we usually have a good day. So.
Right. You're having a good day.
And then the third thing is I always, all the good coes that I've had, and when I always have a spinning rod with 12 to 15 pound braid on it, a 7 foot to 7 foot 2 or 7 foot 4 medium to medium heavy spinning rod with a little bit of backbone. You can do so much with a little pack of leader lines, and you don't have to bring the big spools of it. But if you have 8, 10, 12, and 14, you can, it's like having 4 different spinning rods.
Oh yeah. 100%. I do it all the time. That's the whole key. Like in my boat, I have a plastic container that's just got spare spools in it. So I don't even have to monkey around, because you know how a lot of times, like you'll be out there and if you blow up a spool, if you have a bad cast and you blow up a spool, I just cut it, pull the spool out, pop the new one in, and I'm gone. I will not spend 5 minutes trying to get a backlash out if it happens. And there's no way. The spool's coming out, new one's going in. I don't even monkey with it.
Yep.
Till later.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun when you just go and you can just pick up your rod, and like you said, communication is also big. And you talked about with Frankie, what he knows when you talk about that person, be like, hey, do I need to bring? And 90% of the time your buddy will be like, no, dude, I got you on that.
Right. And even when I fish Bassmasters, I would tell my non-boaters, I would say, this is what you need to bring. I wouldn't tell them how I was fishing or what I was doing, but I would say, this is what you need to bring. A lot of times it was football jigs and Carolina rigs, so they knew we weren't flipping. But you know what I'm saying? So I would give them several rod choices and say, this is all you need to bring. I said, bring your favorite colors in whatever. And I said, I have tackle. So if you don't have it, I have it. And guys are like, dude, why are you giving them stuff? They're going to catch your fish. And I'm like, well, because I would rather have them be lean and mean than show up with 500 pounds of tackle.
Well, Charlie Hartley's on. He said, back in the pro on pro days, I drew a big old Bitter pro. Ooh, I wonder if he drew Jim Bitter.
No,
I think he is. I think he's quietly saying that he might have drawn Jim Bitter. He said, quote, I usually draw a 300-pound angler with 80 pounds of tackle, and today I get one that weighs 80 pounds with 300 pounds of tackle.
That's about right. That's about right. That is so funny.
Yeah.
That is so funny, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If you are in a tournament though, like, listen, you always bring a spinning rod and always bring something that you can power fish with. Those are the 2 rods that never leave, because there are guys who will say, oh, we're flipping grass all day, power fishing. And at 9 a.m. they're out throwing 6-pound test over 60 foot of water, knowing that if you didn't bring any of that stuff, you're not going to catch any of their fish, and vice versa. Yeah. So that's all I got. You ready to talk props?
Yeah, let's pull Todd in. We guys were talking performance, we're talking rough water, and we're talking to Mr. Todd Bucknell.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
Good. We're just good. I think Frank and I are a little on the grumpy edge today, but we've also had some really good laughs today. We've given away some baits. We've talked about fishing as a co-angler, Frank's favorite thing. And then he was like, before, he's like, dude, we got to bring Todd. I can't do a good Frank. I can do a good Frank. I just get nervous in front of Frank doing it. He's never heard it.
Get over it.
I can't do it in front of Frank.
Get over it.
He said, well, I believe we should bring Todd in. I think he has some interesting news on the prop front. So here you are.
And I could see that. I could see the semblance of loaded to the cork on your jersey there, Slick.
Hey, listen, I bought it on eBay.
Yeah, you probably beat the crap out of Brazil and took his.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jeff let me borrow it for the show.
Oh, he's a good man.
Yes, he is.
Oh gosh.
So how we doing, guys?
Good. Last time you were on, you guys had just dialed in the old 5-blader, and it was up and running.
Yeah,
yes. So we've got them out now, Matt, and got a number of people with them. The results have been really, really good. So we have tested a number of different boats, from Bass Cat Jaguars with the 4-strokes on it, to Skeeters, to other Legends and different boats, and they've all done super, super well. So we're pretty excited about the product, and we're looking forward to getting more out there in your viewers' hands and let them see the results that we're seeing.
Right, and you know, the cool thing about there's old Brazil on right now, man.
Who is this Jeff Brazil? He sounds like a legend.
He's a legend in his own mind.
The fair played man.
Yeah, so he's a friend of Todd's from the Go Fast boat era. I was very fortunate enough to meet him several years ago. And he's where's he from, really?
He is from South Haven, Mississippi.
Okay, so he's from there, and he came up here a couple seasons ago, and the funny thing is, Todd and I was taking Todd muskie fishing a few times, and he's kind of addicted to the adrenaline rush of those big bastards, and so we had Brazil come up, and of course, you know, Jeff wants to bass fish, and I'm like, oh no. No, we're not bass fishing. We're going muskie fishing. And so we went out muskie fishing, and he got to see one up close and personal. So, of course, he was mad at Todd because Todd was catching all the bass, but that's okay.
Ask Frank what I bring on the boat when I go fishing.
Are you a minimalist, or do you?
Oh, I am so minimal. It's not even funny, man.
He shows up with something to eat. A big monster Magnum cup of Diet Pepsi or Coke.
Diet Coke, yep.
Diet Coke. And that's that.
Frank, where's my stuff? Let me destroy it. Here we go.
Right, exactly.
Nice. That's the way to do it. I do that too. I've done that multiple times this year where I'm like, I'm good. I got 3 rods. Can I just use your stuff? Because we're fishing a team tournament, and you know, if you got 3 or 4 hours, I mean, how much stuff can you actually use in 3 hours? Especially if you're catching them. If you're catching them, you're not changing your crap.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah, I mean, you know, when I'm in my boat and my buddies are with me, I just tell them, open the lid, everything's labeled.
Yeah. Hey, Todd, I do have a question for you before you guys get into it. So you're seeing a lot of boats up for sale now. A lot of the pro boats, a lot of guys who order boats either every year or every other year, and then their boat's up for sale, and you go and test drive it. How do you know if you're test driving a boat that you've never been in before? It's like, let's say it's a different brand than you're used to. You're not sure if it's squirrely, if it shine walks, if it doesn't, how do you know if that's a mismatched prop to the boat, or if it's just a style of boat that you don't like? Is that a fair question?
Very fair question.
Okay.
And especially if it's in an arena where you're not familiar with that kind of boat.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a different setup than what you're used to. A lot of people can get scared away, and it could be just something as easy as setback, prop choice, motor height. Those are the 3 biggest things that we see. And if the boat is not set up right, you know, one guy may not care about how the boat handles at 70 miles an hour because he never goes over 55.
Right.
You know, so usually that can be easily taken care of. Biggest thing that we need is if, you know, a customer calls up, says, hey, I'm looking at X boat. It's doing this. I need the RPM, GPS speed, and the gear ratio. With those 3 numbers, we can work out the slip percentage. Basically what that is, a big fancy formula that tells us how good the prop's hooking up. So that's the first thing that we look at. Once we get the slip percentage, then we kind of know 3-blade, 4-blade, cupping style, cupping profile. Does it need tail lift? Does it need bow lift? And that will get us into zeroing in on getting the boat set up so it handles right for the customer.
So you can kind of tell based on the numbers that come back if the prop is not performing
100%.
as it should. Okay, so that's
100%.
how you can tell whether it's the ride of the boat or whether it's a mismatched prop.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you're talking with Todd in numbers, he's like the Rain Man. Just so you know,
Yeah.
we'll be running down the lake doing a prop test on my boat, and you're at 7.9% slip based on the blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? I'm like, how are you figuring all this crap out?
Well, he's like you with pearls. How many different pearls can you mix up there, Frank? When you start mentioning, I add this and then a couple drops of this and that, it's the same thing.
So but it's really fun. So gear ratio, Todd, based on the lower unit on the boat, and a lot of times there's a sticker on the lower unit, if I'm not mistaken, right?
A lot of times there is, but we've pretty much done so many boats in different combinations that if a customer calls up and is unaware of what it is, 99.9% chance I'm going to tell you what it is. So that's really not a big issue there.
Go over some of the common ones right now for bass boats.
Okay, so the 250 XS 2-stroke and the new 4-stroke, the 250, all the Pro XSs are 1.75 on the gear ratio. 1.75 is also on the Yamaha 4-stroke. So those are really the two biggest ones that we see. You don't really see a lot of OMCs anymore, because they're pretty much out of the gig. But 1.75 is the easiest ratio. Nowadays, the last 10 or 15 years, that's predominantly what you see.
What is? I'm confused. Sorry, it's just me. What does that mean? 1.75 what? What? So I've got a 250.
So every time the flywheel, every time the motor makes one revolution, the propeller turns 1.75 times.
Oh, it's just the same thing as gear ratio.
Correct.
As
exactly what it is. Gear ratio.
When you make a turn, that's how many times the spool turns.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And what we basically do, Matt, is we take this formula. So they give me the RPM. You divide that by the gear ratio. Then you multiply that times the pitch of the propeller. And then you come up with a formula that divides inches into feet into miles an hour. That gives you what we call a theoretical speed. And I know that sounds kind of chunky when you say it, but the theoretical speed nobody obtains because that's 0% slip. So then what we do is we take the realistic speed of what it showed on a GPS, divide that into the theoretical, and let's say that number comes out to be 0.9. That means you're getting 10% slip. That's normal on an everyday bass boat. But if that number comes in at 0.82 and there's 18% slip, that tells me on the big end or at wide open throttle, the prop isn't, it's leaving a lot on the table. We need some studded snow tires because you're slipping the tires on ice, if you will.
This makes so much sense. So I can call and say I'm running 5,800 RPMs with a 250 Pro XS on a 24 Fury.
Yep. We can do it right now.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
And if Todd ever tells you he has a sneaky suspicion, just
run as fast as you can.
Yeah, just listen to him.
Okay. See, I think my cat, I have obviously I have a fast boat. I'm very proud of that. It's Bass Cat. And I like to go fast.
It's a good running boat.
It is.
Don't give me best ever, man. Give me day in, day out with a full tournament load. Give me the speed that you see day in, day out.
Day in, day out. Like, are we talking like hooked up?
Just day in, day out. Not the best ever.
So we'll say like 5,800 RPMs because they have like a governor on it. It doesn't go above 6,000 right now.
You have 4-stroke or 2-stroke?
4-stroke.
That's 6,200 is your rev limiter.
Okay. So 6,000. Let's do 6,000. And my day in, day out, like everyday speed is 74.
That's not bad. I'd take it.
Between it actually, honestly, it depends on my co-angler and what he brings. It's between 73 and 74.
Yeah, that's not a bad speed drop with a co-angler.
No, that's doing pretty good. So you're at 7% slip,
which is great.
That's really good, Matt. So what that tells me is the lift characteristics. Now, slip is a direct reflection of how much we're dragging through the water.
Okay.
So the freer the boat is off the water, the less slip because the less drag coefficient you do have. Okay. So at 7% slip, that style prop on your boat at wide open throttle is doing a very good job.
Yeah. And I think that's a 24.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Dude, that's badass.
Isn't that cool?
Now, it a lot of times, Matt, people think it's hocus pocus. Well, look, numbers are numbers. The only thing that doesn't lie when people talk about performance is the math.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I
Bottom
feel
line.
like I could get a lot more out of that boat, but Mercury, and I don't know if this is a thing, but they put a trim limiter on it. And I've heard that you can go in and have it removed, but
Well-
it stops going up at a certain point, and so you don't pinch everything. But I feel like if I could trim it up a little bit more, I could get more out of the water and get more.
I got to be honest with you, man. It's 6.5%, 7% slip. Where you're trimming the boat right now, you don't need to trim it up any higher.
Because this boat that I've ran this entire year has never once gotten squirrely on me.
Mm-hmm.
It's never once felt, never once slid out. I mean, it feels like for lack of a better term, like a vehicle.
Yeah,
like it always, and I've
a train
had
on the
other
tracks.
cats. Like you have to minimalist drive it, when you get it up, and each one's a little different based on the hulls. I mean, when I've ran the Pumas in the past, or all the different ones have different, but some are squirrelier than others. Some, I had an 80-mile-an-hour one, but over 76, it took me probably 4 months to get comfortable above 75 driving it.
Sure.
Right. And the thing you got to remember too is you're striving for neutral trim almost. Neutral trim or just a smidge above.
And you've done the show before that talks about, based on where your rooster tail
Right.
is, can tell whether you're over trim or you have it
Right.
tucked down under trim. You said, if I remember right, you want that rooster tail to be about even with the top of the motor cowling when you're rolling.
Or
Okay.
below.
Yep.
Because if we look at it like a horizontal plane mat, if this is the lower unit, the more we tilt it up, accessing the trim angle, now that thrust is being wasted up. Okay. The
Mhm.
closer we can lift the boat to neutral trim, that means our push is going straight forward.
Okay.
Now, everybody's going to need a little bit of positive trim. We carry weight. We've got trolling motors, batteries.
And now 10 graphs.
Yeah. And now TV screens on the boat. So there's no question we're going to need a little bit of positive trim, but as much lift as we can get out of the propeller and the setup. And there's a couple of things that come into their play there. Obviously, there's the prop. Okay. But then there's the setback. We made a change on a number of different boats, and on Frank's in particular, his first Legend, I think it came from the factory with an 8-inch setback.
Yeah.
And we just weren't satisfied with the numbers, and we weren't getting the lift that we had, even with doing the work to the prop. So we stuck a set of 2-inch spacers on there. So now the motor was 10 inches off the transom instead of 8. And then we picked up 3.5, 4 miles an hour, picked up handling, rough water capability. It was a different boat, just putting the motor 2 inches back.
Right. And so there's a lot of variables that come into play, tweaking out
that's
a boat.
that's next level stuff.
But here's a lot of the stuff that I see a lot. Guys will underpower a boat, and then expect to get performance out of it. And when I say performance, I'm not talking about doing 90.
Be sluggish getting out of the hole, handling it'll feel heavy.
Well, handling it's slow. It doesn't react fast enough. You don't have the horsepower to put the nose where you need the nose to go. And so, because the boat manufacturers say, hey, this is good for a 225 to a 300. Well, if they're saying 225 to 300, you better be going towards the 300.
Yeah.
Because you underpower it, and it becomes a little bit more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the other thing that we noticed too, and Frank can attest to this. We went down with a guy with a bass cat mat. We were testing the 5-blade. Big time tournament fisherman from up here on Lake Erie, 22-foot Jaguar, which
that's
by the way,
big boat.
Oh, it's a barge, dude.
Brother, let me tell you something. That was a 77 Lincoln Continental. I could not believe the size of that boat.
There's so much room for activities in that thing.
Yeah, arts and crafts. So he showed up, and he had 2 different wheels. He had a 24 Fury, your prop, and then he had a 22 Bravo. And we went out, and we always get a baseline before we try anything else. Let's see what it runs just with the stuff that you have. And it now this isn't knocking the boat or the customer or anything else, because he is loaded to the gills. Okay. But it was in the low 60s, but he was only turning 56 to 5,800 RPM between the 2 props. With these new 4-strokes, Matt, we have to look at this now like a car motor, because that's all it is. It's a 4-stroke car motor. It's got valves, lifter, camshaft. With that being said, they make their peak power between 6,000 and 6,200. So we put the little 5-blade on, which is a 21 pitch, the Rough Water Series 5, and it actually outperformed the Fury and the 22 Bravo, because we turned it at 6180 just under the rev limiter, and we were 1.7 miles an hour faster with the 5-blade, not because the 5-blade's a speed prop, but because his motor was actually putting out 250 horsepower now instead of maybe 220, 230 at 56 or 5,700.
It needed the RPMs.
It needed the RPM. These motors really, really like the RPM.
So you can also tell just with a couple questions whether someone's BSing you.
Oh, dude. I've never
seen it because these numbers that I'm looking at, like, I mean, you're like, oh, I'm running 83, and you're like negative slippage, bro.
Listen, the people that are 108% efficiency, I just politely tell them, you stick with what you have, you bronze it, put it in the Smithsonian, because there is absolutely nothing I can do to help you. Nothing.
I swear,
he sees it all the time when he comes by the shop and hears me on the phone. You know,
I roll my eyes because, like, I've heard it too. Like on tour, you know, we're crammed in a lock, and everybody's my boat goes, 80 miles an hour and this and that, and I'm like, and how fast you going? I said, well, 72. And they're like, I'm getting blah, blah, blah. And I told my non-boater, and we were on the Red River. Mm-hmm. I told my non-boater, I said, we're kind of screwed because we're almost the last row in the lock. I said, so it's going to get a little bumpy when we come out of this lock. But when we come out of the lock, I said, we're going to be fine. Just hold on, and we'll be almost in second place by the time we got to peel out. So they opened the locks, and everybody, you know how it is, Matt, and anybody that fishes tournaments where there's locks, you're supposed to idle past the concrete wall and then put your boat up on plane.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
And everyone's jockeying, and you're just in that washing machine till you get past the concrete wall. So we get past the concrete wall, and I light my Legend up, man. And I don't even take my foot off the throttle because I got it set up where I could literally, if I wanted to, I could run 68 miles an hour in 2 to 3 footers, and it just goes do. So I light it up, and we're passing, and I got 2 boats to beat to get to the front of the line. I got 2 boats to go, but I had to peel off to go up the river I was fishing. So I peel off. I go. I don't think nothing else about it. It's everyday job. Go fish. We come back in. We weigh in, and I'm sitting in, like, I don't remember, 6th place, 7th place. And like 4 dudes come up to me and they go, how fast is that freaking boat? And I said, it's 71, 72 tops. I said, but I was only running 68 miles an hour out of the lock. I couldn't, you can't go like that in that rough water. And they're like, that boat looked like it was doing 100. I go, that's because I have it set up for rough water, and I can drive in that stuff. And so it's everybody's boat's the fastest boat in the world. Now, if a guy in an Allison comes up to you and says, mine's a 90 mile an hour boat, probably believe him.
Jones right now.
Yeah. Just probably believe the guy.
No, I've noticed, in the opens, you get in a lot of boat races. Now, I'm not talking about, measuring the size of your sack boat races, but I mean, there'll be a guy there. You'll notice what he's in. You'll be heading the same general direction, and it's just human nature. Right. I've noticed who is a better boat driver than me based on who has kind of the same models of boats. Like, I mean, there's a lot of cougars out there, and there's been other cougars that I've seen have passed me in choppier water where I know that I'm not going wide open, and I'm like, oh, that guy knows how to drive better than I do. But when it's calm, you can tell who's got their boats hooked up, because 9 out of 10 Phoenixes I can outrun. Not like, wow, but like pass them.
Go by them.
There's a couple out there, they're hanging. Like, I've had a couple where I'm like, dang, that Phoenix is going 74 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Those are guys who have everything dialed in and are maximizing the performance of their vessel, I would assume.
Absolutely. I's dotted, T's crossed. The setup's correct for what they carry, for what their load is, and they're getting the most out of the boat. Setup is so important, man. And we've talked about this before, not only from a handling standpoint and a drivability standpoint, but performance standpoint. Once the boat is hooked up correctly, there's better numbers to be had. Now, whether that's 1 mile an hour over what somebody else does or 3 or 4 miles an hour, it's still it's I'm not going to say free because everything costs, but it's if the boat is set up right, the input on setup is free compared to motor work, compared to $1,000 props, So there's a lot to be said for the setup.
Yeah, it's true. It's 100% true. Like I said, I set my boats up for handling water. I'll sacrifice 1 mile an hour to 3 miles an hour, knowing that if I have to get on it in bumpy stuff, I can. Just because most of the time in the tournament game, you very rarely have a flat lake where you can just let her eat. Now, I'm not talking about some of the river systems. I'm talking about the big lakes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, how many times have you been on Champlain where you can let it go? You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this. So next year I'll be running the STS, the 24 Puma STS.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also fishing. What's up?
How long is that boat?
It is, I believe, a 20-foot 7-inch boat.
Okay.
With a 250 4-stroke, 2 AGMs, 2 36-volt lithiums in the back. Weight distribution wise, if that means anything.
It does.
Running 2 12-inch graphs up front and 1 12-inch, maybe 2 12-inch graphs at the console. I'm also fishing Leech Lake, which the guys in Minnesota say it's the biggest, most dangerous lake in the country.
It gets bouncy, dude.
And St. Clair, which you guys are all very familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
I need to come up and get set up for a different prop, don't I? I need to come up and make
100%.
sure that I need to come up and make sure. So we need to schedule when this gets done. If you're open to this, if I come up with $1,500 and a day and a half, can I get set up with that to get a different?
Well, it'd be 1,600 since you know Frank, but yes, Matt, we can.
Okay. I mean, but that makes sense to me if that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
To make
100%.
that drive when's the water open? April, May? Like when would be a good?
Yeah, I would say April.
Okay.
Mid-April. And, to your point exactly, Matt, we just had a customer that got one of our little 5-blades, and he's got a Skeeter with a Yamaha, and he didn't have the 5-blade in time, and he did a tournament up at St. Clair, and they gave him a 22-pitch 4-blade. Now, he runs a Yamaha 250 show on a Skeeter, 72, 74 mile an hour boat, whatever it may be. And he went up there, and I said, hey, Aaron, take this 22 pitch, get up there. We'll get the 5-blade figured out for you. And he said that the first day, I forget what position he was in, but he went by all these guys at 62 to 66 miles an hour because the water was gross. And the same thing that you were talking about, Frank. Everybody's like, oh, my God, how fast is that boat? He said, I was doing 64, 65 miles an hour. But the ideal condition was that he was able to stay into it to where he could keep going 64, 65 miles an hour.
And the key is without beating your brains out.
Well, that's it. And without the boat getting all out of shape, he was able to leave his foot in it and get to where he had to go. And he got to the spot first. And, and that's slower than what his boat normally runs. But in those conditions, you're never going to be able to trim it and hang it to get that last, bit of speed out of it. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, Matt, we'll take you up on that. Come on up. And maybe we can even do a film.
Yeah, I'd love to do a BTL live.
Yeah,
that'll be cool.
Just to make sure that I'm dialed in with the normal prop and then put the big water prop on. We can do the whole changing it out, do it. If we've got good service from the lake, we could rock it out. I will say this also. If a boat that I don't think should be passes me in the late morning or middle of the day, I just assume they got empty live wells and they haven't caught crap.
You know what? That's a pretty good assumption. Yeah, that's it. Because when you
if they're like a scalded dog running, I'm like, yep, they don't have anything. The live wells are dry and they're in the middle of a meltdown.
Exactly. It's 100% accurate. Man alive, is that good? So anyhow, so what do we got, Todd? What do you got for the loyal listeners?
So here's what we have for the loyal listeners. As thanks to BTL and all the customers out there, we're going to knock off $50 on any RWS 5 prop during the month of Thanksgiving to say thank you to all your listeners and all of our loyal customers out there for the BTL brand.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So if they want to get a hold of you and the website and all that, just give it to me again. So I know we've done it before.
No problem. Hydromotive.com.
I bet you've had that website for a long time.
We have.
Back in that AOL.
Yeah.
There it is.
Mail.
Hydromotive, HYDROMOTIVE.com. You log into it. There's a couple of props spinning on the top right there.
That's it.
Yeah, those are Todd's wheels turning.
I got a sneaky suspicion.
Yeah, that scares the hell out of me.
And then go down to propellers.
You got it.
All right. And then
go to the outboard. There you go.
WRS5 on outboard.
That's it. They have not put the picture up yet. We're going to have to let them know.
Okay.
Yeah. Get on those guys.
Or is there a view other photo or no?
And then there's the number right there. Please contact us. Number is 330-425-4266 and ask for Todd.
That's it. Easy peasy.
And you'll get the man and then mention that you heard about it on BTL.
You got it.
Makes a great Christmas gift.
It sure does.
Or a Thanksgiving gift.
Yeah, you better have that stocking bolted to the wall.
Imagine you get one of those suckers and put it as a centerpiece on the Thanksgiving. Honey, it's a centerpiece for the Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly. Put one flower coming out.
Awesome. That's good stuff. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys.
No biggie.
Oh, wait.
Are you stuck in there now? You can't. You're in.
No, I'm gonna do something. I have to remove it, but there's an audio portion to this, but I have to bring it back in a different format to share the audio. Also share audio system. Share. All right, you should be able to hear it now.
I know that motor very well.
Yeah.
That's the sound of the outboard using that propeller. That's a cool little feature there.
Yeah, that's a scary sound.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I mean, I know the season's winding down up north, but now's a good time to start thinking about all this stuff so you're dialed in when the snow and ice finally go away.
Well, and like Frank and I were talking too, it's more than just Great Lakes. Flats boats, Matt. Guys that are fishing redfish down in Delacroix, Louisiana, or on the Gulf Coast. Rayburn down in Texas. There's a lot of other lakes other than the Great Lakes that guys will be able to take advantage of this prop.
Hey, I'll put a link to that in the show description on YouTube. So instead of having to try to find it yourself, you can just click on that link. I want to make sure it's $50 off.
Yep.
What did they say? That
RWS5. Rough water.
Rough Water Series 5 prop.
You got it.
I'll put the
dude. I thought that stood for Rough Water Scalish. What the hell? You lied to me, man.
Not everything's about you, Frank.
Oh, man. Another sleepless night. Oh, man alive.
Anything else, Todd?
Not unless you guys have any more questions or any other material you'd like to go over.
No, I didn't know we were going to get a BTL discount. That was a surprise today.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. I didn't want to let the bass cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
And Matt, I will say this, Frank's known me for a long time and we're just getting to know each other ourselves. But there's a lot of times where your customers will call up, guys that say, hey, I heard the show, and we just won't sell them a prop. There's some situations after you look at the application, you look at the numbers that for the money spent, there's not going to be a big enough advantage, whether it's because of the horsepower or the style of fishing or the boat. Mm-hmm. We're going to give you our honest opinion. We're not one of those people that are just going to try to slam something down your throat. If you don't need it, you don't need it. And we're not afraid to tell you that. I know that a lot of aftermarket products can be very pushy or have claims about this, that, whatever. We try to take a little bit more scientific approach to it, and a realistic approach. Believe me, I will let you know if I feel confident that it's going to do the job for you. But at the same token, I'll also let you know if there's not a whole lot we can do and your money's going to be better spent either in a different setup or a different motor or a different, so on and so forth. So we're going to give it to you straight.
Yeah,
Well said.
which is really good because, I mean, you're looking at you go to a guy like you or your shop because you're the specialist in what you do, and giving a false set of goods isn't going to help your business out, but it's not going to help the angler out either.
Well, that's it. And the old saying, man, if you sell something to somebody that works, they might tell a couple of people. If you sell something to somebody that doesn't work, 5,000 people are going to know.
That's a great point. You will be proud of me. A lot of the shallow water anglers will not be proud of me, but I made it through this entire season with I don't have a single nick on that prop. All the rest of the years I've been like, that ear may or may not make it through today. but this year, golden.
Well, that's good. And knock on wood, because that's like the guy that says he's never missed a kick from this distance before.
No, my year's over. My year's done, Todd.
Okay,
I got no more Derby days.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good.
I didn't say that. Yeah, that's like the co-angler who gets in and looks back and goes, "Had any issues with this motor?"
Yeah, exactly.
Nope. He's running
we were on Kentucky Lake one time for an event, and the water was like 7 feet, 8 feet low. And I was staying at the Buckhannon Resort in the back of that creek. And the launch was on the other side of the bridge, which literally is, I don't want to stay a stone throw away, but it's very close. So I'm like, screw the traffic. I'm going to launch here and I'll just pick my way out of this creek and then run to the blast off because it's 10 times faster than driving. So Jesus Christ. So it's low and there's rock piles and shoals and everywhere. And you got to be right in that creek channel going out. So I do this every day for the event. The day is, and when I got there before the tournament started, I always go to the service guys, trailers, because those guys, they literally, they put their souls on the line to keep the pros on the water. They do a really good job maintaining the boats for the guys. So I always go there and I always, how you doing? Here's, some pop, here's some beer, whatever I always take care of them. So this was the boat that we ran your racing 5-blade on. Yeah. Not the rough water 5-blade, but the racing 5-blade.
We only spent like 72 hours on this one, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it ran the boat really good, and it's the only legend of mine that it ever ran good. And so I go to the service crew and I'm like, dude, check out this prop, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking about it and they're all looking at it going, oh yeah, wow, we see a lot of that in the saltwater market, blah, blah, blah. And they go, is it running? I go, dude, it runs this boat. And so the tournament is over and I'm going back to my cabin and it's bouncy out. It's really bouncy. The waves are coming right down the pipe, and I forget who it was, but he's getting goosey with me. I'm doing the same, and we're both wah, wah, wah. And I said, watch, I'm going to eat this guy's lunch right now, and I stomp on it, and I just go and take off, and I cut the turn to go into the bay I'm in. I cut the turn, and I know exactly where I'm at, and then my GPS catches up to me. And I'm like, oh, shit, I missed the river channel. And boom, right into one of those shoals. And so I literally had to troll a motor back to the ramp. I pulled the boat out of the water. And we're going to another event after this. So I got to go to the service trailer and get a prop. And so I go... I pull into the service trailer and the dude from Mercury's like, oh, how do you like that high dollar prop now, dude? It's like, it's not, I needed a lower unit, a prop, the whole 9 yards. And so I wound up leaving there, driving to Alabama, getting a lower unit and then going to the next event because they ran out of lower units because guys were knocking them off their boats like crazy in that lake.
So that was one of the 11 o'clock phone calls. Dude, You're not going to believe this. No, I believe it. I totally believe it. How bad is it? He was like, well, I'll show you when I get back. I was like, okay.
Oh, the prop was rolled. It looked like, did you ever see the front of those dredging machines with all the teeth on it that dredge the things? That's what it looked like. But you fixed it for me.
We did.
Which I can't believe.
All right.
Anyway, I figured we'd end on a funny comical story.
That is good. You got anything else, Todd?
I think we're good, brother. I will
put that link in the bio, YouTube, Bass Talk Live YouTube bio for this show, day 4 for November 2nd. $50 off the RWS 5 series of props from Hydromotive, the direct link. You can call and talk to Todd. Thanks, dude.
That's only through November, right, Todd?
That is correct.
For the month of November. All right. See you later, Todd.
All right, guys. Be good.
See you, buddy.
That was nice.
Yeah. That was a surprise to me too, actually.
I'll put that in there. What else you got, Frank?
Nothing, man. Just jonesing for a little fish fix here. I got to go catch some bass. I've been focusing so much on the crappies. I got those. I got the 14-foot Denali and the 12-foot Denali crappie rods in the other day.
Oh, you did get them? I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah, I got them. Appreciate it. I'm so torn now, dude. I want to chase crappies so bad, but I got to go bass fishing.
Well, just do both. Go to a lake that's got crappie and bass, and then when the opportunity presents itself, dip for some slabs, and then go bass fish.
I think I'm going to bass fish solely and totally tomorrow.
The best time for what you're doing is between like 10 and 3. Before that and after that is dicey for the crappie, especially when it gets really cold. The peak time is I would say 10 to 3, regardless of where you're on the country. Warmer, fish get out there and suspend.
Cool. I'm in.
All right. Crap. I'm going to be at Table Rock next week.
Why is that crap, dude? Table Rock's great.
Well, because we're supposed to do a show Thursday morning.
Oh, you're stiffing me on a show again?
I'm not stiffing you. We still give everybody the exact same number of shows with the exact same quality content that they've come to know and love.
I know, dude. I know. That's okay. Let's pick a day where the weather's going to be crappy to do the show.
Okay, well, I'm going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that means you better hope for crappy weather on Monday, or we can record one on Sunday, or we could go live on Sunday, November 5th. It's kind of up to you. We got the 5th or the 6th.
Let's figure it out after this thing.
Okay.
Let me see. Where am I at? Whatever you want to do is fine with me. Let's.
Have we done a weekend live show?
Not in quite a while.
What do you do on Sundays? I mean, is that a work free day, or are you willing to jump on?
It's the day of the Lord's rest, dude. I'll do the show.
But in the evening after we've been sufficiently rested,
I will do the show.
What days are you fishing with Frankie?
Well, tomorrow for sure, and possibly Saturday. Tomorrow might be a bass day, and Saturday might be a crappie day.
When do the Browns play this weekend?
Oh shoot, the Browns play Sunday, but
what time?
It'll be an afternoon game.
Okay, let's do Sunday evening then.
All right, let me write this down.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I don't care.
And then you'll get Thursday off, and then we won't have to worry about it.
Sunday Eve live.
Man, I have one hair that's like sticking out of my ear. That's not good. That's the first time in my entire life that I've had an ear hair bother me.
Dude, we really went down that road. That's how
I'm just saying. If you
that's how we're
like,
closing the show. That's how we're closing the show.
Scheduling and ear hair.
We've stooped to a whole new level, guys and gals.
It is what it is. All right, this has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank SCALISH. We'll see everybody Sunday evening.
For a special Day
4 on Day 0. See ya.